Massapequa, Long Island. He hosts Fox and Friends on Fox, and he is a friend of mine, I'm proud to say. His name is Brian Kilmeade. Brian, welcome back to Big 550 KTRS here in St. Louis.
Hey, McGraw, it's great to talk to you again.
You got it. You're going to be in town November 18th at Lindenwood University for a book signing and a book reading. This is now how many books for you?
This is 5. This is my 3rd history book, but it's 5 overall.
And the book is called Andrew Jackson and the Miracle of New Orleans.
Yeah, I mean, the first book was right by where you grew up. It was The Spy Ring that saved the American Revolution. George Washington had it. It was top secret till 1930. The next one we did, Thomas Jefferson and the Tripoli Pirates, because it was our first war against terror. And I had no idea how I would apply Andrew Jackson to the news, but I knew I wanted to do that. And I had no idea that President Trump was going to be running, and he'd have so many similarities to the success that Jackson had. But when it came to this story in particular, I just thought this was a spectacular victory. And when I found out they're still studying in war colleges today, that Jackson, without any formal military training, devised this strategy to beat the #1 infantry in the world, I thought, this hits on a lot of areas. Let's try it.
Did you start this book before the Donald Trump came along?
Of course, yeah, 2 years ago.
Wow.
Absolutely. Yeah, Donald Trump was thinking about running. My gut told me he was going to run, but I didn't even realize until I started peeling back the layers of Jackson is that the similarities between them, number one, the hair. They both had very unique hair. Number two, they were both obsessed with the media. I went to visit the Hermitage where Jackson lives, and they brought me behind the glass for a tour. And they showed me these binders. I go, what's these binders? You can't open them. I said, why? Well, he used to keep all his newspapers in binders and make notes on the side on how wrong these stories were and how they go about contacting the reporters to make sure they correct them because they were not accurate. And I'm thinking to myself, that reminds me of somebody.
You're telling me Andrew Jackson texts you during the show, too?
Yeah, he doesn't text me during the show. Well, put it this way, Andrew Jackson would like our show. There's no doubt about it.
Of course. All right, so you're coming to town for a book signing and a book reading. You do this quite often. You love doing this stuff.
I do. I mean, people say, you book tour. The only problem I have is not being with my family who have all these soccer games and you're not home. But the other stuff is I love meeting people because a lot of times you're in television, you're in New York where no one likes you, and doing radio. And you sit in, as you know, sometimes you sit in a booth, most times without windows, and you wonder who's listening. And then you get a chance to actually meet people, and they always comment. Most of them are nice and interesting, and that's my chance to see my audience. So the book is a big excuse for that.
Yeah. The book is Andrew Jackson and the Miracle of New Orleans, and you're going to be in town November 18th, Lindenwood, Saturday night. To find out more, go to lindenwood.edu. So what are they still teaching about Andrew Jackson in war colleges today?
Well, here's the thing. So the British have just terrorized the coast, and they've burned Washington, and keep in mind they are now reinforced. They just defeated Napoleon. They got to land in New Orleans and take this major city and hold it. We found documents in Britain that show that they had no interest in leaving this time. So Jackson says, okay, how do I stop these well-trained troops who outnumber us almost 2-1? And what he decided to do is build a berm like a mini wall, and then redig the Rodriguez Canal, which ends up being like a moat, and then realize the British have to go through and over them. He dug a few berms behind them in case they lost the first wall, but they blew them away, and they got ammunition from pirates. They got help from Tennessee and Kentucky. They got free men of color who fought for him, Native Americans, Choctaw Indians in particular, to fight with him. And they put together this army, drilled them together, treated everyone equally. And this uniquely American army, which means people of all creeds and colors, came together to fight for their country. And that's what rallied around the country. McGraw, it was the second biggest holiday in our country for over 100 years. That's how much we cared about this battle, because it was truly American pride. And the British, we'd never be invaded again, period. And then democracy wouldn't be threatened again, because all these, as you know, all these monarchs and kings and queens and dictators, they didn't like the whole election thing we were doing.
Right.
The whole leaving power was new. So if it worked, it would work against them. And then they realized they couldn't touch us anymore, and we just hit the fast track after that.
Andrew Jackson and the Miracle of New Orleans, the book written by Brian Kilmeade. It's his 5th, which now means he has now written more books than he's actually read. Come on, that's a
By
pretty,
one.
That's a pretty
By
good
one.
line, right?
Yeah.
That's a pretty good line.
Yeah.
All right, there you
It
go.
hurts my feelings, but I would think nothing less for you.
All right, you're going to be in town Saturday night, November 18th, Lindenwood University, lindenwood.edu, and bookstores everywhere, Amazon.com. The book is Andrew Jackson and the Miracle of New Orleans. Brian, be good. Thanks for all your nice words, and we'll see you down the road.
Go get him.